Welcome back, dear students. So here this video is for class 10th subject science chapter number 2, that is acid, bases and salts, and this is lecture assignment 1 solutions. So as there were problems in the solutions of assignment 1 video, so we are back with it. So today we will solve the questions again. So let us begin with the first question. So the first question is, write the balanced chemical equations for the following reactions. So part A is sodium hydroxide when it reacts with zinc. So here sodium hydroxide is a strong base and zinc is a metal. So when a base reacts with a metal, salt is produced and hydrogen gas is evolved. So accordingly we have sodium hydroxide reacts with zinc, it forms Na2ZnO2, that is sodium zincate, and hydrogen gas is evolved. The second equation is, when acetic acid reacts with aluminium, aluminium is a metal, and when a metal reacts with an acid, formation of a salt happens and hydrogen gas is evolved. So when acid reacts with acetic acid is a weak acid, and when it reacts with aluminium, it forms aluminium acetate and hydrogen gas is evolved from it. So as we know that aluminium is having a higher standard electrode potential value than this hydrogen which is present in the acid, so it can displace this hydrogen from the acid. So hence it is forming aluminium acetate, and the hydrogen from here is removed and it is evolved as a hydrogen gas. Then the third equation is, when sulfuric acid reacts with acetic acid, both are acids, but sulfuric acid is a strong oxidizing agent and acetic acid is a weak base. So when this weak base is dissolved in water, then first it dissociates into 2CO2, 8H plus and 8 electrons. Then H2SO4, it gains these H plus and 8 electrons and it makes 4SO2 plus 8H2O. Hence the net reaction which is taking place is CH3COOH, that is acetic acid, plus 4H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid. They react together to form sulfur dioxide, water and carbon dioxide. The next reaction is of calcium hydroxide and nickel. So calcium is a metal, nickel is another metal, but we know that only a high reactive metal or more reactive metal can displace the less reactive metal from the compound. So here we have calcium hydroxide, which is a compound, but nickel as compared to calcium is less electropositive, or you can say it is having a lower standard electrode potential than calcium. That is why it cannot displace calcium from the compound, and hence no reaction takes place. The same thing happens in the case of copper, that is part E, when copper reacts with hydrochloric acid. So copper is a less reactive metal as compared to hydrogen which is present in the hydrochloric acid. So it cannot displace hydrogen from the acid, and hence no reaction takes place. Then we have silver. Next part of this question, silver when it reacts with concentrated nitric acid. Nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent, and silver metal, when it reacts with nitric acid, then it forms silver nitrate and nitrogen dioxide and water molecule. Then second question is it possible that a substance may act as an acid in one solvent and as a base in another? So the answer is yes. Yes, this is possible that a substance can act as an acid in one solvent and as a base in another. Why? Let us have a look. But before that, I want to tell you that these type of substances are called amphoteric compounds, which can behave as both acids as well as bases. For example, water, amino acids, hydrogen carbonates. All three behave as amphoteric compounds. Now we have some basic theories. Like in case of acids and bases, we have read about Arrhenius theory. Arrhenius theory says that when a substance furnishes or gives hydrogen ion, that is H plus ion in water, or it forms or dissociate into its ion, and H positive ion is the only positive charged ion which is formed in the substance when it is dissolved in the water, then this is called an acid. And if it furnishes OH negative as the only negative charge when it dissolved in the water, then it is called a base. But in the context of protons, Bronsted-Lowry's acid-base theory said that whenever a substance donates H plus ion or proton, so when a substance donates proton, then it is an acid, and when some substance accepts the protons, then it is a base. But according to Lewis theory, this is also true that when electrons are attracted, then it is an acid, and when electron pairs are donated, then it is a base. So on the basis of these properties, let us discuss one of the example that behaves as both type of substance, as an acid and as a base in different solvents. Suppose as a first solvent we have some acid, and in that we are putting water. So here what is happening, because we know that acid when dissolved in water, it gives H plus ion, and when this H plus ion when it further reacts with water molecules, then it forms hydronium ion, that is H3O plus ions, and A negative. A negative can be any negative charge. Suppose we have HCl and H2O, then it will form H3O plus and Cl negative. So here we can see that acid is donating H plus, but this water molecule is forming hydronium ion by accepting this H plus ion. So we have just studied that when a substance is accepting the H plus ions or protons, then it is a base. So here water is reacting as a base. Let us have one more reaction. Now we have ammonia as a solvent, and when it is dissolved in the water, then it gives NH4 plus and OH negative. So here what is happening? And H2O is giving out H plus and OH negative, and this NH3 is accepting this H plus ion and forming NH4 plus. So that is why we are getting here NH4 plus and OH negative. So H2O is donating a proton here, so it is acting as an acid. So the water is example of the substance which can behave as acid and bases in different solvents. Then third question is, why does a salt have crystals of definite shape? So as we know that salts are crystalline solids. And what are crystalline solids? Crystalline solid is a material whose atom, molecules or ions are arranged in a highly ordered microscopic structure forming a crystal lattice that extends in all the three directions, and hence there is a formation of crystalline solid. These lattices are regular geometrical arrangements of ions over a long range. Because of these long range orders of the lattice, the salts or the crystals of the salt, they have a definite shape. Fourth question is, why does basicity of oxide and hydroxides fall across the periods in the periodic table? So as you have not studied periodic table till now, but a general overview of periodic table has been given to you. So just try to understand with the help of the basic concepts that you know that when we go from left to right, on the left hand side we have metals and on the right hand side of the periodic table we have non-metals. And we have seen that metal oxides are basic in nature and non-metal oxides are acidic in nature. Along with it, we have one more thing, that is ionic bonding, because the metals, they are electropositive in nature. That means they have a tendency to lose the electrons, and hence they generally form ionic bonding with other atoms. But non-metals, they are electronegative in nature, so they form covalent bonding. One more thing, according to the electropositivity, we know that metals, they are donors of electrons, so they behave as bases, because we have studied according to the Lewis theory that donor of electrons is a base, and that attracts electron pair or shared pair of electrons towards the nucleus, then it is an acid. So on the basis of all these points, we can say that as we go from left to right, from metals to non-metals, what happens? Metallic character of the metals decreases and non-metallic character of the elements increases. So we are going from this metals to non-metals, and we know that metal oxides are basic in nature and non-metal oxides are acidic in nature. So we are going from basicity to acidity. That means, and one more thing to confirm, that we have metals as electropositive in nature, so they are the donors of electrons, and we are going from the donors of the electrons to acceptors of the electrons, or which attracts the shared pair of electrons, which are acids. So we are going from bases to acids. The process will take place in the series that first it will be strongly basic, then weakly basic, then we will have in the middle neutral, then we will have weakly acidic, and then it will come to strongly acidic. And that is why we are going, when we go from left to right in a period, then basicity of oxides falls. Question number 5 is, why does the basicity of oxides and hydroxides increases down the group in the periodic table? So this is also one of the properties of elements present in the periodic table, that as we go from as you know that we have 18 groups in the periodic table. So as we go from top to bottom, we know that atomic size increases as we go down in a group, and because of this atomic size increase, that means the radius of the atom is increasing. Now just think about the electropositive nature of the metal. we know that metals are electropositive in nature. That means they have a tendency to lose the electrons. But you know that we have a nucleus which is positively charged, and around which we have orbitals in which electrons are revolving. That means negative charge is revolving around the positive charge. That positive charge is holding the electrons. It is balancing the stability of the atom. And if we increase this size as we go down in a group, then suppose we are having more number of orbits. So this is the radius. Now this radius has increased to this much. So as the radius of the atom increases, then the attraction between the electrons and the nucleus is very less. And the hold of this nucleus towards these electrons is very less. And that makes it more easy to lose this electron. That means when the size increases, electropositive nature of a metal also increases. And hence it is more easy to give the electrons, and it is the nature of the basis to give electrons, to donate electrons. So hence, as we go down in a group, the basicity of oxides and hydroxides increases. Then our next question is, why do metal oxides form bases and non-metal oxides form acids on reacting with water? So let us talk about the metal oxides first. Let us have an example of disodium oxide. When it reacts with water, which is in liquid state, then it forms 2NaOH. This NaOH is basic in nature. And how we can confirm that? Because when this NaOH is dissolved in water again, then it furnishes Na plus and OH negative ions. That means this is in aqueous state now, and in aqueous state ions will be present. So we will be having Na plus and OH negative. But this OH negative, or the water molecule, how the water molecule will get dissociated now. So you look at here that we have H2O, water. So we have water, that is a covalent compound, and oxygen is forming covalent bonds with hydrogen. And along with it we have O2 negative, because we were having Na2O. So Na2 will be acting as 2Na plus, and O2 will be having O2 negative. So here this oxygen is having a charge of -2. So it will attract the hydrogen from here, because this is also more electronegative. And when this bond is broken, then this electron is also going to this oxygen, because this oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen. It has a tendency to attract the shared pair of electrons, and hence this oxygen is also getting one negative charge, and this is also compromising its one negative charge. Now both are converting into OH negative ions. Now we have two OH negative ions which will react with 2Na plus, and hence it will form 2NaOH. Now let us talk about the non-metals. So non-metals, we can have one example. Let us see what happens when a non-metal reacts with the water. So when a non-metal oxide reacts with water, then acids are produced. Why? Because when a non-metal NO2, that is nitrogen dioxide, which is gaseous, when it is dissolved in the water, then as nitrogen cannot displace hydrogen from here. So what happens? Water splits up into the ions. So we get H plus and OH negative in this way. So this H plus attaches to one of the nitrogen dioxide molecule and OH negative attaches with the second NO2 molecule, and hence they form the HNO2 and HNO3 acids. So this way. So it is a two-step process in which one step OH negative is getting attached with NO2 and forming HNO2. Then because this is unstable, so then we will be having H plus and NO3 negative. So this will combine to get HNO3 and HNO2. So HNO3 is nitric acid and HNO2 is nitrous acid. So this is how when a non-metal oxide reacts with water, it always forms acids. Bases which are not alkalis. So the alkalis are the bases which are soluble in water. We have to give the example of the two bases which are not soluble in water, and that is magnesium hydroxide and copper hydroxide. Then we have to give a name of a normal salt and the acid salt of the same acid. So we have sodium sulfate and sodium bisulfate. And the third is we have to name a salt insoluble in cold water but soluble in hot water, and that is lead chloride. Next question is, a compound X of sodium is commonly used for making crispy pakoras. It is also used for curing acidity in stomach. Identify X and what is its formula. State the reaction that takes place when it is heated. So we have been given a hint that it is used for curing acidity. Acidity is hyperacidity. So that means the substance which can be used to cure acidity is a base. Then base of sodium, it can be a sulfate, it can be a carbonate. Then second hint is it is used for making crispy pakoras. So it must be some carbonate and not the sulfates. Then this is what? Let us see. So the compound X is baking soda. Baking soda, which is a constituent of baking powder. And its chemical name is sodium hydrogen carbonate. So it's a hydrogen carbonate of sodium, and its formula is NaHCO3. And on heating, this produces carbon dioxide gas. Let us see the reaction involved. So when NaHCO3 is heated, it produces sodium carbonate and water, and carbon dioxide gas is evolved. So on heating, this hydrogen is removed. Question number 9 is, what is efflorescence? Give an example. So fluorescence is a process of loss of molecules of water of crystallization from a substance when it is exposed to air. That means fluorescence process, in the fluorescence process there is a removal of water of crystallization. This removal of water of crystallization can be complete or can be partial. Let us have one example, that when washing soda, that is sodium carbonate decahydrate, is heated or exposed to air, then it forms sodium carbonate. So it can also form complete, it can also have the removal of all the water molecules of water of crystallization, or it can partially remove the water of crystallization. So here it is partially removing the water of crystallization. Let us see the reaction. When sodium carbonate decahydrate, that is washing soda, earlier it is a white crystalline solid. When it is heated or when it is exposed to air, then it removes or it loses its water of crystallization. So when there is a partial removal of water of crystallization, then it forms sodium carbonate monohydrate, and 9 molecules of water of crystallization are removed. So let us have the last question of the assignment. A student dropped some pieces of marble in the dilute acid, that is HCl, in a test tube. The gas evolved was passed through lime water. What changes would be observed in the lime water? So we have been given a hint that this gas, when it is passed through lime water, then it turns. Then what can happen with the lime water? So we have that student observed that the gas turns lime water milky, and that gas is, what is that gas? That gas is carbon dioxide. So with this, and I end up the solutions of assignment number 1 of chapter number 2. So now the assignments of chapter 2 and 3 are clear with the help of videos, and the solutions are available on the website of the school. Now you have to do both the assignments in your fair notebook. If still some of the students they have doubt, you can ask in the comment box of the video. So we'll be continuing our chapter 3 in lecture number 5. So till then, take care. Goodbye.